Hey everybody, this is Mike Bono from the North Andover Athletic Association, and you are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the show that brings you inside the lines of North Andover High School athletics. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nightly News Podcast. Al,
Mike,
good to see you again.
You too.
All right, and we have another spring coach in studio today, Coach Mike Scammon, the varsity boys volleyball coach at North Andover High School. Welcome, Coach Mike.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, no, appreciate you coming in. So, want to learn a little bit more about you. So, my research tells me you are an AP psychology teacher at Methuen High School.
That is correct.
That is correct.
You did some great research there.
I could probably use a little help from you.
We all.
I don't even know if North Andover High has
AP Psych, I don't know.
AP psychology.
They don't. My players asked me about it all. They were asking me the other day. We had a meeting. We had our preseason meeting, and they're like, "Coach, what do you know about AP psychology?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't work here. It's like I'm at Methuen High School." But no, I don't think they have a ton. It's actually weird. So Methuen High School. Well, I shouldn't say it's weird. It's great for me, but we have like over 100 kids take AP psychology at Methuen High School. It's one of the most popular APs take. It's been that way for quite some time, and great for me because I love teaching the course and I get all kinds of kids. But yeah, I mean nationally, it's kind of lower on the poll in terms of like courses like tests ordered. But no, it's great. It's awesome.
So it's gonna be cool to being a psychology teacher and kind of being a coach of a team, like managing the personalities and all that.
Stuff pops up.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, other than the fact that you are a AP Psych teacher at Methuen High.
Yeah, sure thing. So, So I'm from Methuen, actually, born and raised. And like you just heard, I teach at Methuen High School. In terms of my volleyball upbringing, I started playing volleyball my sophomore year of high school at Methuen High. I just was kind of looking for something different. I was a soccer player and I was doing track. And while I liked running in circles, I kind of wanted to change it up a bit. Went out with a buddy of mine. He didn't make it. I did. And I fell in love with the sport immediately. I played for Coach Toomey, who still is actually the head girls and boys coach over at Methuen High School now. And I just, the second I started playing the game, I ate it up. Even on days when it was a bad day or we had a tough match and I knew we were going to be doing some running the next day, I always enjoyed it. And I never got that way. And I played basketball in high school. I played soccer. I was a track athlete. And, you have those days where you're like, I don't want to go to practice. And that never happened with volleyball. And it was excellent. So from there, I went to UMass Lowell. I played a little bit of club there. They have club men's volleyball. Although I will admit I was a little more focused in college. Believe it or not, I was focused on getting my degree. I was focused on truly graduating without any debt, which fortunately I did. But at the cost of, I worked a lot. I wasn't able to play as much as I wanted to. And then after I graduated, history major. I'm trying to being a history teacher actually at the time. And I'm looking for jobs everywhere. And I was never planning on being a volleyball coach. Truthfully, I love the sport. I enjoyed playing it when I was in high school and college. But I was like, maybe I can get a coaching job, parlay that into a teaching job. And it actually worked out in a different way. I got hired at Methuen High 1 week after I actually got hired at Triton Regional High School. I was the girls' varsity volleyball coach at Triton Regional, believe it or not, at the age of 23.
Wow.
So it was quite the experience.
Wow. And so you're not only the coach of the boys volleyball team
Yep.
at North Andover, you also coach the girls, the Masco girls team? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I've been at Masco for now actually 4 years. It'll be my fifth season this coming fall. And I've been at North Andover for now. This is going to be my sixth season with North Andover.
And you started the program, right?
For North Andover?
Yeah, volleyball's.
No, I came in year three.
Yeah, okay.
So I came in year three.
Later.
Their first year was 2016. Okay. I was actually, believe it or not, the way I got connected with it was former Methuen High graduate Giuliano Pizzo, still works at North Andover High School as a gym teacher. He helped start the program at North Andover, and we kind of got hooked up through a mutual friend. I wasn't super interested at the time of going big time, full, all the time during the year volleyball coaching. I just kind of really vibed with Coach Pizzo, his plan, and I've been there ever since.
So your plan wasn't to go full tilt, but you coach in the fall, because for anybody who doesn't know, girls volleyball is fall sport, boys volleyball is spring sport. But you also coach club volleyball.
I do. So yeah. So it's like I truly went the other way. I went the complete other way on what I was planning on doing, and I've actually coached 5 years. I coached 2015 to 2020 at a Avidity Volleyball Club. That's a girls' club out of Danvers, Danvers Indoor Sports, not too far from here. And currently, I left there a couple of years ago, and I coach at Merricky Volleyball Club, which is in Bedford, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I coach boys there. I actually coach a couple of my North Andover guys. Not enough that it's going to get me in trouble with the MIAA, but I just coach a couple. But yeah, no, it's been pretty good, and it's been fun. I've been enjoying myself.
So we said that the program started in 2016.
16,
You
correct.
came in 2018.
18. Yep.
The team, in the first 5 years, they won 12 games.
That sounds accurate, yeah.
Based off of, again, my in-depth research that I've done. Anyway,
Yep.
So 12 games in
No,
5
you're
years.
right. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And then in 2021, like, it was lights out. You guys won 11 games. You were, like, the talk of the town, like, boys volleyball.
Yeah.
What happened over the course of, from 2018-19 to 2021?
Yeah, sure. So basically, yeah, I came in at 18. I was a JV coach. They won 7 games. It was for them. It was great. For us, it was awesome. They went from 1-2 games. The previous 2 seasons to 7-1, 7-1 season, and that was great. Next season, we had a lot of hype coming in. We were looking forward to it. We had a lot of young guys coming through, and 2-18. The even sadder part was we actually went 2-1 to start the year. We proceeded to lose the remaining games. But so that team, though, we started like 4 sophomores and a freshman in addition to 2 seniors. So we were really excited going to 2020 spring. Obviously, that was COVID. And that was actually going to be my first season as the head coach. I had just, I accepted that position at the very end of the 2019 season. And basically all that happened was all those guys were coming back. We had no juniors on the roster when COVID hit. So every single guy was coming back, and all those players did for 2 years was play off-season ball. They would go to each other's houses. They'd play grass court. They'd play sandball. And when they came in to tryouts, again, we didn't have the biggest program because of COVID. Numbers were low, but those guys were ready to play. And I kind of knew just in kind of training camp and in tryouts, I'm like, all right, we kind of have something here with this varsity team. And, we were able to make a run, and it was a really, really special season.
So what's interesting about North Andover, I don't think there's a booster club program for volleyball, the youth. Is it?
There's definitely girls.
There's
girls.
Yeah.
So there's
a start boys too?
There is a boys there. One of my parents actually, Mike Wong,
Mike.
he actually
Great
helps
guy.
out with it. Mike's great. He does it, and I talked to him about this the other day because I saw him at a tournament, and he the boys is a part of the girls boosters, but we obviously we don't get the enrollment as girls, and as we always talk about with other coaches and with volleyball in general, there is kind of like a stigma with getting guys out. Like it's one of those things like, oh, volleyball, isn't it? Don't girls play that sport? Like it's always one of those things.
Sure.
So,
Those are the people that have never seen it played because the power, I'm hooked. I mentioned this when we interviewed the girls volleyball coach. I remember when my daughter was a freshman playing soccer, I'd often beat the bus back to the building, after, got to wait for the bus, and I'd come back from Bill Ricker, and I'd catch the girls' volleyball game because there was nothing else to do while I was waiting, and I got hooked, and I found myself going to volleyball games when my kids didn't have games, and they didn't even play on the team. It's a phenomenal take.
It's an explosive sport, and the guys' game's even more different. It's even more explosive. These guys are jumping out of the gym. They're slamming the ball down. They're stuffing and blocking the crap out of each other. There's a lot of energy in the sport. There's a lot of athleticism in the sport, and I always tell parents it kind of is a hidden gem.
It is.
If your son's interested, send him to a clinic, send him to a camp. Heck, email me. I'll tell you where to go. But no, it's a great sport, and I'm hoping to help try to promote it and get more youth players from North Andover to get into it because. That's kind of how you build a program and how you get successful. So I'm going to work my butt off at trying to do that.
You had mentioned that you started playing sophomore year of high school?
Yeah, my sophomore year of high school.
What age can you start playing these days volleyball? Is it 8, 10, 12? Like, do they have smaller nets for the kids? I know nothing about the...
They do. So the tough part with it is, a lot of the towns, the municipalities, they don't... It's not like it's Pop Warner or like Pee Wee, hockey or whatever, where like they have like these leagues within like the athletic departments of the town. They don't have that infrastructure yet for volleyball, and that includes girls too. don't get me wrong, there are some towns that do, and that's why Barnstable, Mass has like 1 billion state titles. But it just doesn't exist at a very heavily area here in the Northeast. Truly, the Northeast is actually one of the last areas of the country where you don't get that huge volleyball growth. I've had coaches of mine, friends of mine, that have come up from the Midwest, and they're amazed. They're like, you don't have youth volleyball at your town for 9-year-olds? They're like, we have this all over here in Ohio and Iowa and places like that. So, it's definitely the way you can do it here is there's a ton of volleyball clubs that run and organize and do this. But the tough part for parents is you don't know about this. You have to basically hear from word of mouth or from other parents who have kids within the program. So that's a challenge. But they're absolutely, if you want to play volleyball, if you have a daughter, even if you have a son, and I will admit though, there's less opportunities for the boys out there, sadly. There's definitely avenues. Your daughter can start playing, son can start playing at 10, 11, 12 years old. But sadly, you just got to go out and you got to find those opportunities.
Yeah. But you're also competing with two big sports and baseball. It was always years and years ago, it was baseball, right? Little League baseball, T-ball, and then you just kind of go through those programs. And then lacrosse started coming along, and it seemed like lacrosse was poaching isn't the right word, but right, kids started gravitating towards lacrosse. Yep. And here you are, volleyball, which is all right, well, here's yet another thing. And then in North Andover, you got 3,000 kids running for track, running on the track team. So it's hard to get those kids, right?
It is, and it's been kind of our struggle a little bit. Although this year I did just look at my registrations before I came in, and we're looking in good shape this year. We're pretty much just shy of 30 guys, which I know doesn't sound like a huge number, but for us it's actually the most we've ever had.
Wow.
So
that year you have varsity and JV, where you have a freshman
total team. I don't know if it's quite enough to have exactly 3 teams, but probably what'll end up happening is if we keep to that number, I probably will run 3 teams in the sense where
JV1, JV2.
JV1, JV2. I'll drop probably a couple of my my younger varsity guys down to play JV1, and we'll do kind of some smaller JV1, JV2 teams. Again, not a lot of teams in the MVC have that kind of luxury. There's a couple that do. But yeah, if these numbers hold true, we're in really good shape, and we got good freshman numbers this year too, which is really nice. So, the saving grace for us has been that we've been able to maintain that competitive edge since 2021 because all the guys we have that come in, they go out and they play off-season volleyball. And we, currently, I have 19 players that currently play club or off-season AAU, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that really does go a long way in terms of improving the skill of those individual players.
Who are the strong teams in the MVC?
Lowell's very, very good. They, again, speaking to that infrastructure, they have really good town volleyball infrastructure. I was speaking to one of their players the other day. He was explaining it to me. They have 9 middle schools. Obviously, Lowell's a huge community.
They do great intramural.
And they do great intramural.
Right?
And from what I've been told is the boys volleyball is very competitive. Really, really competitive. There's a lot of kind of sand and grass leagues they run there. So kids are playing from 11, 12 over in Lowell. And again, there's a lot of guys that go back and give to the community and kind of teach kids how to play. So not to mention there's one of the better volleyball clubs in Massachusetts, Mill City Volleyball Club, is run out of Lowell. So not only that is you have this town infrastructure, but then you also have solid coaching in the form of a volleyball club within your community as well. So it's really the last 5-6 years, Lowell has really become a powerhouse. Where when I played, graduated in 2010, Lowell was always good. They weren't what they were. Back then when I played, it was always Lawrence was very, very competitive. You had Chelmsford, very, very competitive. So, yeah, Lowell has really come on. Lowell's going to be a really good team this year. They have a strong, strong group of players. Haverhill is going to be another team that's going to be really, really good as well. They have a couple, really special players as well, and they're coached very, very well too. Coach Vince is excellent. So, those teams are looking to be pretty good this year, I think.
And you mentioned Barnstable at the state level. Is there another sort of hotbed somewhere around the state that? Yeah,
it's in the kind of the Boston metro area. There's a lot of teams around there. You have your Newtons north and south. You have Lincoln Sudbury. Needham is actually has won the state title the last 2 years for boys. I don't think they've lost a set in 2 years.
Wow, a set?
They haven't lost a set in 2 years. Wow. They might have dropped one. I may be inaccurate on that, but I don't even know if that's true. Yeah, they're back-to-back state titles. They've had 2 players each of the last 2 years that have played D1. They have one kid now who plays for Harvard, and they have another kid who graduated last year, Mass Player of the Year. and he plays at Ohio State,
Wow.
Which is a big time program for national volleyball, men's volleyball, Division I. So it's pretty cool. I mean, 2 years ago they had both those guys on one team. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
So I think when people think volleyball, like you got to be 6'5" to play, right? And
it helps.
It helps. Obviously, I'm vertically challenged, I guess. But like, do you have kids who aren't the tallest kids out there that can contribute? That you're like, yeah, you want to stick with this. Like you're coordinated. Like you get it. That can still play a big part.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the best example is Lowell. I bet you they have maybe one kid who's 6'2", the rest of those guys are shorter, and that includes last year. They just they have pretty good leaping. They're good athletes. They jump well. They have good athletes there, but they got most of their guys are sub 6 feet, and when they went to the Final Four last year.
So how are they scoring mostly? Just being able to return.
I always say the best skill in volleyball is what's called your serve, receiver, your passing, and they just everything that comes over the net from a serve or from like any type of free ball, that ball is passed on a dime, and then their setters are able then to set pretty quickly to their corners, to their pins. They run some plays, and they can get some free looks, and they do a great job. They're just an excellent ball control team. And I'll say it now. My players will laugh when I bring it up, but I always joke about whenever we're getting ready for a game. If you've seen volleyball, the kids do hitting lines and stuff. And I always joke with my players because they'll see guys and girls will be like, oh my god, they're hitting so good, and I always be like, I don't care. I was like, let's see how they pass. And it's a true thing. Passing is so important in the game, and coverage, covering your hitters, all that stuff, and defense. And Lowell does that better than anybody. One of the best teams. And so despite not being a huge team, they do very, very well for themselves. Truthfully.
45-second explanation of the libero for us.
You know what? I knew you were going to ask me about this today, so I even brushed up myself today. I'm so happy.
I have no idea what the heck you guys are talking about.
So it's the different. If you ever watch volleyball, there's a person on the court with a different colored jersey. So that's called your libero or your libero, however you choose to pronounce it. I actually oscillate back and forth, but essentially, it's an Italian word. It means free, and it started coming into play in the 90s because what used to happen was it's like you learn in gym class. You rotate all the way around, but you have these players who play in the middle who are really, really tall, and it's really hard for those players to get really, really low as compared to smaller people to dig the ball up and pass. So they invented this position that essentially the way it works for a lot of teams, but that player, that libero, can go back row for anybody. They're free. Usually the way it's utilized in today's game is they go back row for the middles. So when the middles rotate back, that player goes in for the middles, and then it's kind of like I use a lot of football references when I think about volleyball. But your libero is kind of like your middle linebacker. They should be your defensive ace, or they're your free safety. Like they call everything. They call the defense, and they kind of go from there. So it's a great part of the game. There's been a lot of evolution of volleyball that's happened over the last 20 years. Getting rid of the side-out scoring, now going to rally scoring, adding the libero, and it's made the game like really faster. Yeah. And that's been the big thing. So it's
because you're limited to switches, right? You can't just. Am I right about that? You're limited
correct.
To substitution.
You only get a certain number of subs, which is probably different if for you guys who watch soccer. High school soccer or basketball, things where you could sub as many as you want. You get X amount of subs. Now, the amount of subs you get in high school is plenty. I think we get 12, I believe is the number.
But the libero doesn't count.
The libero doesn't count as a substitute, which is great. It saves you. At the NCAA game, though, I believe, I could be wrong about this, I think they only get 5 or 6 subs. So, there's not as much switching when you go to the higher level. But here in high school, you can switch a lot more, and you can have what we call defensive specialists go in and play for other players. But yes, correct. That libero does not count as a substitute, which is awesome and allows you to get to your point about the height challenge people. There's a position out there where if you work on your passing and your serving and your ability, you got a whole position dedicated to you on the court. Although I will admit, as I sit here now, I in high school played libero as a 6-foot-tall player. I just couldn't figure out the hitting back then. So that was actually my position when I played in high school, and even a little bit in college. I'd mess around. I'd play some libero too.
Al, you know way more about volleyball, and I think you're leading on just even bringing that. I'm
so happy you asked that question. I was ready for it.
I mean, I've seen the shirt. I didn't know that's what it was called.
It came into play in like the 90s. I think mid-90s, 95, 96 is when it started appearing more and more in the American game. But it was in the Italian game more in the late 80s, I believe.
Right. So what what's this year? What are your expectations for this season? You get some key guys that left last year. You get anybody coming up that can sort of take the reins?
Yeah, we definitely lost some really good talent last year. We had 2 players last year that made first team all conference in the MVC, which is a good volleyball league, by the way. I think we had 7 teams in the top 32 for the playoffs last year for D1. We lost, Andrew Matsuranis was a big hitter for us. Our setter Andrew Jones.
Saw Andrew Matsuranis at the gym today.
You saw Andrew?
He's huge.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was very helpful. But yeah, so they since graduated, but we're returning a good amount of starters, to be honest. Last year was a little bit more of a youth movement. We had a handful of sophomores kind of join the starting lineup, and those players got that experience last year. They went and played off-season ball. So again, I've seen them. I coach clubs, so I see those guys a lot, but they're looking a lot better. Definitely our big hitter this year, kind of replacing that Andrew Matsuranis role, is going to be Kyler Shea. Has been a 2-year starter. He started on that 2021 team that went to the D1 North Finals, and he's just accelerated his growth for the past 2 years. And he's going to be definitely one of the better players you'll see in the league this year. Definitely a fun kid to watch, and he's an amazing captain and a great kid at that too.
Amazing family.
Amazing family as
amazing
well.
Tall family.
Yes, yeah. I just saw Dad this weekend at Boston Nike Festival. Yeah,
Was he filming something down there?
No, Dad was just there supporting Kyler. I got to pop into him. Yeah, he's doing well.
Good. Neighbors Thompson family. Yep. That we know. It's great to hear that Kyler is
excellent player.
Excellent player, yeah. But more importantly, a good leader and
amazing leader.
Amazing kid.
Amazing kid.
Which is not surprising to hear. So you feel like the team's gonna kind of be strong this year? You feel like you're going to compete?
Yeah, my biggest thing as a coach is I love improvement more than anything, and I didn't get into coaching to, escalate any type of coaching career, or I don't do it for accolades and things like that whatsoever. But I love improvement, and even with my Masco team this past fall, I returned pretty much the whole starting lineup from 2021 fall, and they went 10-10, and it was a lot of new players this year. Same lineup, we went 15-5, won our league in the Northeastern Conference, and beating teams that were beating us a year ago. That's the stuff I like, sure. And that's the stuff I care about. So, when I go to the guys, obviously we went 8-11 last year. Yeah, we want to see definitely an exponential win growth there, but I want to see us go out and beat teams we haven't beaten before. I want to see us go out and take a team that maybe beat us in 5 last year, or do things like that. So I definitely expect. I can tell you right now, we're expecting a playoff run. We're expecting to compete in the MVC, highly in the MVC. It's for me. I never know how far we're gonna go. Even this past fall at the Masco, we went to the Elite 8. I'd be honest, I didn't know that was in the cards for us. And so I'm excited to see where the boys go. We're gonna go as far as we push ourselves ultimately.
Right. Question slipped my mind.
I'll ask you.
Oh, no, I got it. Sorry. You coach the girls and the boys.
Yeah.
Same strategy? Like anything, any big differences, as far as your approach to coaching them?
I get this question a lot, which is a good one. The way I am is pretty much the same. There might be a little more bark in my when I talk to the guys a bit, but I'm pretty much the same person in the way I act. In terms of the game, there's a humongous emphasis on blocking, and not that there isn't on the women's game, but the ball goes straight down for the guys' game. If you don't get your hands there, there's nothing you can do about it. For a lot of hitters in the girls' game, there are those girls that put the ball straight down. Obviously North Andover had a great player in Nadine Abdot who could do that. But if you just get your players in the right position back row, usually for girls, you can be very, very competitive and keep rallies going. So yeah, with guys, there's a humongous emphasis on your blocking scheme. A little bit more so than how you rotate your players back row, as well as calling set plays. And this is, again, where I always talk about where volleyball is kind of like a little footballish, where your setter should be talking to your hitters each time out and giving them hand signals and saying, hey, run this kind of ball, run this play. And that should be happening every single set. And we work on that quite a bit with our setters and putting that responsibility on them. They're the quarterback of the court, really.
Right.
No, the only question that I have, the same one I ask everyone, what do you tell the 7th grader that wants to play varsity volleyball for North Andover High? What should they be doing?
I would tell them to have mom
start
or dad,
playing volleyball.
I would tell them have mom or dad start emailing me now. I would promise them I'm going to put them. I'll give them as many resources as I can. I am hoping I'm going to talk to Steve, who is amazing, by the way. Steve Nugentson, excellent AD. But I'm going to talk to them, and hopefully this summer I want to get a clinic going at the high school for our middle school boys and just kind of introduce them to the sport. Show them a little bit of what volleyball is, get some of the guys out to kind of, play around with them, and then from there, give them as many options as they can for the off season. Just, hey, there's this place you can play, there's this place you can go, and just from there, hopefully fall in love with it, because it's a great game, and I think more guys should definitely consider it.
Right. Awesome. Coach Mike, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you taking the time and just giving us some insight into the program and in the season. I think I'm hooked. Like, this sounds exciting. Like, I haven't been.
I'm not lying to you, Mike. I'm not making it up. I love watching high school volleyball.
You gotta come out and check out the guys, and I'll do you one better. The other thing I'll tell you gotta go check out sometime. We are very lucky in North Andover. I told the guys this at the meeting the other day. We now have a Division I men's volleyball program in this city at Merrimack College. Has a D1 men's program. And I've been out to a couple of games. The guys have been to a few games. Coach Ray Lewis, plug for him. He does a great job over there, and he's an amazing person. But I definitely would recommend for anyone listening, go check out Merrimack College, NCAA Division I men's volleyball. Go check it out, and the girls too, for that matter. Go check out the girls in the fall too. But yeah, we're so lucky that we can go down the street here in North Andover, Mass, and we can go see some of the best volleyball players in the country play.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Best of luck this season. We'll be rooting for you. And until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right. See you.